Welcome, everybody. In this webinar today, I'm going to be sharing with you some really interesting research that's come out of global research when it comes to marketing and sales. I'm going to share with you the 4 keys framework, why Google has called it the messy middle, and a whole lot more. Share with you some stories and how you can take your SaaS business and take it to the next level. So without any further ado, if you've got any questions, go ahead and find the comment box, ask a question in there. I love these types of interactive conversations. You can find the comment box, ask me a question, and I love going off on tangents. I've made sure I've booked myself in for just the hour. So if we get finished early, more than happy to answer questions at the end as well. So there'll be opportunities throughout where there are going to be giveaways. There's going to be opportunities for you to grab the slide deck as well. So if at any time you want to have one of my team members send you the slides, just put slides in the comments box, and I'm sure my team will go ahead and get those to you as well. So let's get started. So it's all about going from awareness to revenue, why your marketing isn't converting, and what to do about it. Now, the great challenge here is when it comes to marketing is that we've got, there seems to be 2 main challenges when it comes to your marketing, and it's whether or not to do content. And people like to talk about, content is free, and we like to put out lots of content, be thought leaders. Or on the other side, you've got the performance marketers, how they want to go ahead and drive, spend money, which is great, and I use it, and they want to science the hell out of it. And so we want to make sure that there's two sides to all of these things. And actually, in the new economy of buyers and new economy of marketing, it seems to be come all together and come quite close. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of me. I will wave to you, and I'll leave myself there. It's nice and small, so I'm not too offensive there. All right then. So, oops, I got rid of that. Okay, so I'm going to move me over to here. I've only got 2 screens at the moment, so let me do that. There we go. Love a new platform live. Isn't that fantastic? All right, cool. So let's carry on. So first of all, if ads alone could build your pipeline, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be growing faster. And really, because that's just a science, just a math thing. So ads cannot do that anymore. And so throwing money at these platforms without a unified strategy is going to be a real issue. And the 2 main challenges here that we've got today is visibility and conversion. You can get lots of attention. Attention is the commodity in which you should be spending a lot of time and energy on. But is it the right type of attention? Is it the type of attention that your customers are looking for or the type of attention you want from your customers? So they're the 2 main challenges. I'm going to try to address those today in the webinar. So first of all, I'll give a quick introduction for those that don't know me. My name's Matthew Whyatt. Let me just go ahead and make myself a bit bigger on the screen here so you can actually see me. Let me do this. There we go. Hi. So my name is Matthew Whyatt. I started my first technology business at the age of 22. That's not too long ago now. Okay, it's about 27 years ago now. And over that time, I've always led my sales teams from the front. I've been a salesperson and marketing person throughout that whole time. Exited that business, took a year off, lived in Bali, came back, and I've started and exited a few more businesses in the last 10 years. Recently, in the last couple of months, I've moved to Princeton here in New Jersey. So it's later. It's a nighttime here for me now. And the reason I did that is to expand the business, but also to have an adventure. There's lots of the world to see, and if I can, work from my laptop like a lot of you can, run a business, be anywhere in the world. Well, let's just be here, an hour to New York, out of Philly. I spent the last weekend went up to Boston, and it was a fantastic little city there as well. So I'm very grateful that my business allows me to live that type of lifestyle. So let me bring me back to the back to here. There we go. Right. Okay, so what I've been doing for the last 10 years is helping either starting my own businesses or going ahead and helping others scale their business, go to market and scale. So that's what we've been doing for the last couple of years. Now, when we first started back in the day with my businesses, this is how sales looked. Back in 1999, when I started my first tech business, we would put an advert out. That advert would attract people to give us a call, and then sales would take over. So marketing would do a job, or advertising would do a small job, and then sales would deliver trust and credibility and deliver story and qualify the customer, diagnose the problems, and provide a prescription. And so those dots along the way would be follow-up activities, demonstrations, et cetera, and they would be all the way along, where you can essentially see what's happening, but the salesperson really drove the whole conversation. But in 2020, we're now in a situation where 2025, I mean, where marketing starts, but then marketing is still doing the trust and the credibility and the story. That people are looking at you in your business. So Google has called it the messy middle, and the messy middle is, simply put, people become aware of you through your marketing or your content, whatever it is, whether it be your paid or free content. And then over time, they become familiar with your brand. They've built credibility. They've seen your software. They've looked at it. They've maybe even given it a trial if you've got a free trial there. Of course, the free trial with a lot of SaaS businesses is a real challenge, because they sort of, it's difficult to stand up new software. It requires an extra job, and then people not really looking for an extra job in their day-to-day job. So you need to be very careful how you deploy a free trial. But essentially what I'm saying here is marketing happens, then trust and credibility and story happens, and then sales, they might engage with the salesperson, but by that stage, they've made 80-90% of the decision. They want to understand, the salesperson still wants to qualify and diagnose and prescribe, but really at the end of the day, we're going to find ourselves in a situation where the salesperson essentially is confirming a couple of things and taking the money. And so that is one thing I think you really need to get hold of, is that marketing is going to do most of the work these days, most of the heavy lifting. Whereas back in my day, sales and being a salesperson, and that sales is my passion, what I love doing, I've had to come to grips with that very sad reality that my skill set, whilst very, very important at the end of the sale, is no longer the whole picture. So the three big problems holding your sales back and holding your business back are these. So first of all, the ROI illusion. So a lot of performance-based marketers are going to go out there and tell you about return on investment. They're going to talk about ROAS, return on ad spend, those types of things. I was actually on a Alex Hormozi webinar. I was earlier today on the live stream, and funnily enough, he actually said, how would you like to get $5 leads or $17 leads? And of course, everybody said $5 leads. And so he just did a book launch for his $100 million deals, or $100 million, what's it called? Money models. We've got the book here. And and so in that, they found the return on ad spend, the ROAS for the $5 leads was $20. And that's cool. And then the $17 leads, if you're just looking at the ROI there, you look at the cost of acquisition was, almost, well, more than 3 times. The interesting thing is, you spend $5 and got back 20 for the cheaper leads. When he spent $17, he got back $185 per lead in sales. And so actually he realized that the $17 lead, even though it cost 3 times more, was actually more valuable to the organization. So you need to look at how those metrics are, and then only when at the wash up at the end of the day was he able to make that determination that the ROAS, the return on ad spend, was actually better with the more expensive leads. So the ROI illusion there is performance looks good on paper, but is not in profit. 63% of teams are stuck chasing quick metrics while real growth slips away. And that these data is from the multiplier effect paper that's just come out. Ask me in the comments if you want me to send that to you, or I can send you where you can download the multiplier effect. And this is a broad study, hundreds of millions of dollars being spent on advertising every single week or every month. And this is an international body of marketers who come together and say, okay, what really moves the dial when it comes to sales and marketing in 2025? And that's the multiplier effect. And so what we're seeing here is a lot of the times businesses are chasing that quick metric. They've got a product to launch. They want to go out there. They want some quick, easy fixes. And the thing is, think about how you buy. Think about how you interact with products and services now these days. And it's very rarely you see a product on one day and you buy it the next. It's got to be really compelling. You've got to have a high level of trust. And that's the other thing I'll talk about today. The second thing there is the silo problem. So brand and demand live in separate worlds. So brand is all about your thought leadership and about how you position yourself in the market. Demand generation is putting an advert out there. They live in separate worlds. So we want to make sure that we bring those worlds together and actually have them meshing together nicely. So disconnected teams mean fragmented messaging, wasted speed, and inconsistent customer experience. Growth comes from one connected engine. And so if you think about expert marketers in the world at the moment, like Gary Vaynerchuk, how he advises his clients is to put out content, put out organic content, and put that out a lot, put lots of it out there, many a day. I'm not saying that you have to go out there and do many a day, but he's putting out lots and lots per day. I think Alex Hormozi does 450 pieces of content a month. It's a lot. Anyway, so what they're doing is they're putting all this content out there, looking at what indexes, what actually gets attention, and then running adverts based on that attention. Because these guys, much like many parts of the world, is they've sort of given up on guessing. They've given up on the magic of the marketing guy, the Don Drapers of the world, the style makers. It no longer exists really. What we're looking at, you put out content and then the market tells you what they're going to respond to. And so, and then the last part is trust. Visibility doesn't mean credibility. Today's digital native buyers spot inauthenticity immediately. Okay, so if you think about that, when we'll double your marketing, or we'll triple this, or we'll halve that. These types of claims are easy to make, but what they do is they fall on flat ears quite often. So that's the real challenge for many people out there who are trying to run a business and they're trying to grow. They just don't have the ability to communicate effectively with the client. So if you think about how you buy as well, digital is the first place you go. So 27% of low performers rate their content as strong compared to 85% of top performers. So you've got to get strong content and your marketing, bring it all together. Okay, let's carry on. So what I'm trying to say here is performance marketing and brand reputation have got to come together. And when they do, what you do is you get the multiplier effect. And that's the name of the paper. So performance marketing, brand reputation, and will improve your ROI. And it's super important. This is the real key here that I want you to think about, is that the multiplier effect is those two things working in concert. Plenty of businesses are out there have done just brand and reputation. Plenty of businesses have just done performance marketing. But if you really want to make it work in 2025 and beyond, you've got to bring those two together. You've got to make sure those teams are playing nicely in the same spot. So when it comes to the four main impact areas, and if you've joined my webinars before, you'll know about these. I want to revise these for the people who are just joining me tonight. And on those, what they are is they're four key areas. Let's go through them. So your target market. So your target market is clearly defining and understanding your best fit buyers. Ensure your lead generation efforts focus on the right audience. Demographics is not enough. You need to understand the psychographics. And I'll go through each one of these, give you a little bit of an example on each one of them, just to make sure you really get hold of what we're talking about here. If you'd like a further exploration of that, I'm more than happy to share these documents with you. So the second thing is your circle of influence. So obscurity is your enemy. You need to expand your visibility and create and distribute valuable content that attracts and engages your best fit buyers. Those that know you and advocate for you in the market. So what you need to ask yourself is who does know you and who will advocate for you, because that reputation there really is vital to growing your business. And also, that's why influencers work, not necessarily in B2B SaaS, but out there in the world. If Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson decided to go in competition with me, well, I'd have a bit of a hard time because he's just got more visibility in the market. And that's your job, is to get great levels of visibility in the market of your target market. The third part is building relationships. How do you build a relationship? You need to build and nurture lasting relationships with your prospects through personalized communication. So if you want to look that up, you go maybe look at something like ABM, account-based marketing. I have whole webinars on just account-based marketing. It's really important to find the hyper-personalization. Find ways to really engage with your clients at scale. And of course, the last part is an offer. So many of my clients have gone through the process, or before they've come to me, they understand their target market. They do a wonderful job of getting known by that target market. They're building relationships, and they're just giving away lots of good stuff, and they're teaching their clients how to do things, and they're really doing all these things. And they forget to actually ask people to engage. They forget to ask people to buy. And because, many technology people have made some type of internal choice somewhere back in their childhood, they go, I don't want to be an icky salesperson. And in that thinking, they actually actively move away from asking anybody to buy, which is, the death of a business. So you need to be able to get over that and need to be able to sell authentically and engage with your market authentically. And that's super important. Okay. Because not everybody is your customer. This is what Seth Godin says, Godfather of Marketing. If you want to learn something about marketing, I've got one of his books here. He has written probably, I think, more than 24 books about the topic. He really knows his thing, publishes every single day. Every day, rain, hail or shine, Christmas, New Year's, doesn't matter what it is. He publishes every day a blog on marketing. So if you really just want to get that info, that's your place to go. And what he means by that is industry size and location is no longer enough to figure out your target market. And my clients here on the call know exactly that. They know the fact that industry size and location is sort of like table stakes. You've got to do that, obviously. You've got to do that's the minimum, though. What we want to do is we want to then go deeper. We need to go another layer underneath that. And we want to think about the role that we're selling to, the role of the person that we're working with, the role that, and how they're hired, how they're fired, how they're measured. Really important stuff, because if you can understand how your market is measured, how your customers are measured, you'll be able to help them achieve what they're trying to achieve. Also, you need to think about values. And I know these sort of things feel a bit more airy-fairy and not so commercial. When it comes to values, it's super important to think about when you're engaging in that marketing, when you're engaging in that writing of those, that copy, the adverts, the thought leadership pieces, all of those things come together. And underlying all of that is your values, what you value and what your target customer values. And the last point is behavior. How do they behave? And that's so important, because just selling to name, location, and industry, or size, location, and industry is only going to get you so far. But if you actually start talking to people about roles, behaviors, and values, you're going to find a greater cut through, a greater heart level connection. Because when it comes to talking to your market, there's lots of market out there. There's an abundance of customers out there in the world. Many of the people here online today don't need 10 million clients. You need 25, 30 new customers. I have one client at the moment who says to me, Matthew, all I need is one client a quarter. And one client a quarter will have a compounding effect and make them millions and millions and millions of dollars or more money every single year, because it compounds up. So what does that look like? So, there's clients on here who has, Diane says, yes, there is a replay. Yes, there will be a replay, Diane. So thank you for the question. So anybody who wants to ask a question, I know I speak really quickly because I'm very excited about this topic. It's my favorite topic. It's what I do for a living. It's my whole job. So ask a question. I'll answer it. I'll interrupt myself and get straight into it. This document here, and if you want to take a screenshot, do that. But I can also provide you the slides. Just put the word slides into the comments box. I'm more than happy to share that with you. So what this does, it actually helps you identify your best fit customers. Now, what we're not seeing here is, name, rank, and serial number. We're not seeing the industry size and location. What we're seeing here is, they're not just the biggest spenders either. I had a client who their biggest client was 60% of their revenue, millions of dollars a year coming in. And we realized after doing this, they're actually a pretty crappy client. They were trying to, wag the dog. They were being being unfun to work with. Quite a pain, actually. I won't use the particular word they use, but unfun. Let's go with that. So what we want to do is we want to find clients that align with our values, value our experience, and make the work rewarding. So many of my clients, I know there's a few of you here in the room today, the thing you lack the most of is time. You're running your business, you're trying to grow, you're managing your team, you're doing all of these things that are happening all at the same time. Now you've got to go ahead and deal with a painful client. It just takes your eye off the ball. So I really we've chosen these words really consciously. So they're the clients who you solve problems for efficiently, profitably, and enjoyably, creating long-term sustainable growth. So what this does is they ask you, what do those clients look like? Now, I'll give you a worked example from another client, just to give you an understanding of what I'm looking for here. So here, what makes an enterprise best fit? So these are the characteristics of good quality clients. They're looking for a growth in efficiencies. They have an organization structure to facilitate growth, leaders with a vision and willing to put it in place, leaders that have a growth mindset, internal champion and system owner. So many products have been implemented. They haven't had a system owner or a champion, and it's just gone by the wayside. They haven't got the full value out of the product, and at the end of the day, really not got much value out of it. And so what we do here is when we're speaking to customers, we can start giving our customers the opportunity to reflect those values that we have. So if you were to ask me what my perfect target customer is, I would say, well, my customers are typically in the software and in the SaaS world, and they've had enough of ineffective marketing and selling processes. They recognize the value of investing in those processes, and they know that professional help is available. They need to find expertise, not just hands to do the work. They're looking for expertise to create an advisory level. They've had enough of spending money that doesn't create an ROI, and they want to start really engaging that sales process. What I've done is I've not talked about anything that we actually do. Haven't talked about Facebook or Google or blogging or outreach or podcast or any of the things that we do, because we're sitting at a level which is aspirational. So if we think about this and we're talking about this customer, and the customer goes, well, shall I tell you a little bit about what we do? Well, our best customers have leaders with a vision and are willing to put it in place. Our customers have leaders with growth mindsets, and it's really important that when they implement new software, they have an internal champion, and they expect their business to grow. So it's a really different way of thinking about, we do ERP systems, or we do process management systems. So if you think about that, then it becomes more aspirational. Your product immediately, whilst there's not too many different businesses under the sun, there's different ways of engaging with the market through values and behavior. So the second part is circle of influence. I've talked about your target market and getting really, really clear on your target market. The second part here is your circle of influence. And so Gary Vaynerchuk, I've already talked to him. The number one asset for any business or entrepreneur, personal brand, is attention. To put that another way, this is what I've said to a client: the only reason you don't have enough sales is not enough people know about you. I know that might sound a bit harsh or a bit annoying to hear, but it's so true. If more people in the world knew about you, then you would have more sales, unless your product is crap. And really, I think that good products is now table stakes these days in the marketplace. So I think I'd like you to think about that. So how do you build that attention? So back in the old days, when I read Ted Turner's book, excellent book. If you are looking for an interesting, inspiring book, so Ted Turner was given a couple of roadside billboards. Now living in America, I realize that's a pretty big industry, especially for lawyers and billboards. But these here, so he was given a couple of billboards. He turned that into some radio stations, and of course, he started CNN. Also, is one of the largest landholders in the world. But what he would say is, early to bed, early to rise, work like an and advertise. Well, the amazing thing is today is we don't necessarily need to do all of those things. Of course, if you did all those things, you'd have some advantages, but you can also don't have to advertise. You can put your content out there and do advertising. You don't need to just do advertising. And so what I've put together here is how you can grow your circle of influence. And I've broken them up into three main categories. One-to-one. How do you communicate people one-to-one? Well, face-to-face networking, LinkedIn outreach, attend industry events, basically be the person on the spot. I know there's some of you here who are off to a trade show soon. Trade shows are fantastic. You really want to make sure you get the most value out of that. Attend industry events is the middle one there. Of course, one-to-many. You can let the algorithm find your clients for you. Post free social media content. And of course, referrals and word of mouth. That's the only three ways you can do it. but you've got to do them reasonably often. And you need to do it, if you are really clear about your target market, then you'll be able to go much more narrow and much further, much more deeper into the communication and speak more to the heart and the values of those clients. So as I said, people who joined us a bit later, go ahead and if you would like the slides, just type in the word slides. If you want to ask a question, grab the question box and comments box, ask a comment in there. Somebody's already asked, is there going to be a recording? Yes, there is. So as I said, take a screenshot if you want to take this, and just chip away at one of these. Do one of these buckets every month. You'll find yourself in a way better situation over the course of 12 months. So the third part here is your relationship, knowing your buyer and their problems. Do they trust you? And trust is an interesting thing. So growth happens at the speed that trust is built. So, or put that another way, the more trust you can create, the faster you can transfer it, the faster you will grow. I'm just going to take a moment to do this. So when it comes to trust, we need to, because as I said at the beginning, people become aware of you, but if they don't trust you, they're not going to buy. And trust doesn't come through from 1,000 telephone calls, doesn't come through from, being Johnny on the spot. It might, but very rarely. What that trust will come through is, can the second or the second or third person in the process, can you justify to that person you're trustworthy? Oh, I saw testimonials. I know somebody who owns the product. How quickly can you grow and transfer trust? And we do that at scale here at TechTorque. We use a whole range of things like case studies. I'll click on this. Case studies. So let me just make me this size. There. Cool. So we case studies. So here's some examples. So what we did is we interview clients. We get, when clients say things like, workers improve the outcomes and process for Evo Energy directly, that's pretty powerful for other people in the energy sector. Or the so this is Canberra Airport for this client. The implementation from a paper-based system to a fully digital one took about 2 weeks. That's extraordinary. And of course, marketing can say that. But when you have a client who's obviously airside say those things live, say those things to a camera, that's trustworthy. And that's how you can build and transfer trust at scale. Another way is written. So another client, MediLaw increases bookings by 150% with Nexusoft but employing no extra staff. That's so powerful when you think about the fact that this company's, massively increased their weekly bookings without increasing any of the effort that goes along with it. And of course, Game Clothing is another perfect example of how you can build and transfer trust. And of course, what we do here at TechTorque, we have videos. I've got a new video on my on YouTube page where the customer talks about how successful they've been. I've got an entire book called What Clients Say, literally 30 pages of people saying nice things about us, and video and all that type of stuff. And the reason we do that is not necessarily just to stroke my ego, but also to make sure customers can feel like they can trust us with their sales and marketing, with their business growth. And so that's super important. So one of the things I learned from back in the day, I was working with a company called Velocity Selling. And what Bob did, and Bob would literally not allow a person to buy from. He was a keynote speaker, top 10 salespeople in the world. He had a company called Velocity Selling. I've got the book just there, and I was the CEO of that organization. I'll tell you, if anybody wants to hear that story, it's a bit of a funny story, but I won't go into it right now. But essentially, Bob wouldn't allow anybody to buy from him over the course of his career unless they've actually read through and looked at the testimonials, looked at how he works, understood how he does business. Because if you can have a meeting of the minds of how they do business and read through the testimonials, you can understand what to expect and see them speak, then most of the work's done. And so I want you to think about that is you've probably got good work. You've probably done good work. When you communicate with clients, when you initially communicate with them, when you initially message them, whether they download your thing or they engage in some way, however they engage, send them the testimonials. What I found is before I started doing this for TechTorque, what happened is that people would say, oh, can I speak to some existing clients? Or, all that type of stuff. What happened after I started delivering 20-something pages of testimonials and videos, all of that went away. All of that skepticism went away simply because I'd answered the question before they'd asked it. So if you have to think about the sales process and how can you help your clients how can you be client-centric? How can you think for them? How can you give them everything that they need to make a decision? And that's what we do here with these examples and these types of testimonial booklets. All right, well, let's go back to there and carry on. And so what I want you, so as we come to the as we sort of wrap up this formal part of the process, I'll definitely, hey, Diane and Adam, I'll definitely get you those slides. Happy to do that. The more paddles you have in the water, the faster you're going to go. And what I'm really saying here is, if you're going to do the advertising, if you're going to run adverts on one side, absolutely do that. It's important, and we're particularly good at that. But if you're going to run adverts, you also have to run content. And if you're going to run content, find the content that works and then run adverts against that. Engage with your market, because the content can go out organically. You find the stuff that the market starts to engage with, then you can start putting your money behind it and start driving that forward. Oh, by the way, if you're going to click boost on Facebook or on LinkedIn, that's the social media equivalent of the chocolate in the checkout aisle. It's just a little bit of hit of sugar, might not necessarily be very good for you, and it's certainly not part of the plan. So if you do have some extra money, you want to just take some time, do some education, understand your targeting. Facebook is incredibly good at it. And their process. So make sure your content talks to your customers. Your content specifically calls out your target market, because the AI inside of Meta is getting better and better every single day. So another statistic that came from me watching that Alex Hormozi video just earlier today is 40% of his revenue from his recent book launch, I think they brought in about $120 million. 40% of that came from unattributed and organic content. 40%. He spent millions and millions and millions of dollars on paid advertising, everything from X through to YouTube and everything in between. And 40% of his revenue came from organic. So have a think about that. What could you do with an extra 40% for leads for you? So I wanted to obviously throw open the doors for anybody who wants to ask any questions. But as we continue on here, I want you to think about these are 9 ways that we have built relationships with our clients. And this is another thing that you should be looking at here, is here are the 9 ways, and they're reasonably high ROI as well. Educational webinars are the best, because what they do is it's like a long form podcast. You get to watch me talk for an hour or so. Let me just make it so it's large enough so you can take a screenshot if you want to, or you can, as I said, just grab the slides like a couple of people already have. And that is a really great way to give away your thinking, how you think about it. You can engage with people, you can communicate with them. They can talk to you on chat. It's a really great way to do that. Very, very high ROI for you. And of course, downloadable e-guides. We want to do that through Facebook advertising or LinkedIn or whatever it is. But what I want you to think about there is, and I don't know, actually, quick question: how many of you here are running? I want you to answer either: are you just running content, or are you just running ads? Are you doing both or neither? Can I just go ahead and get in the chat window there? Are you running ads, content, both, or neither? What are you doing currently to actually grow your to get more activity out there? Just want to understand what's happening there. While people are answering, I'll carry on. And so with the ads, when you are running ads, that second one there, just content, no ads. Okay. So when you are running ads, people will often want to make those phone calls. They want to go ahead and follow up. That's fine to do, and you should be doing that, but don't expect people to respond to you, because you're probably not responding to them. Content, looking for engagement levels to start running ads. Good one, Terry. That's exactly what you should be doing. And so for the fellow Gold Coaster there, Terry, g'day, mate. So downloadable e-guides. So you can still build these funnel type things, downloadable e-guides and ebooks, and then run your content against it, Terry. So you find your find ways that you can actually put out really high value. I know you've got checklists. I know you've got templates. Put those out there on a social. Put those out there on your emails. I know you send out emails as well. Now I'm just going to bash you, Terry, because you've raised your hand. No, but I'm just trying to help. So put this stuff out there. Put the video out there. These things in your free content, and then see what response you get. If you've got a downloadable guide, the 6 ways people engage on their the 6 best ways people engage on websites, or the 5 ways that people have burned money using chatbots, or whatever it might be. If people are going to go ahead and download that might be something worthy throwing a couple of $1,000s behind when it comes to advertising, because that's when people start engaging with that. I often will put up my downloadable e-guides, my interactive quizzes and assessments. I'll put all that out for free to see what actually gets responses, and continue to do that through my emails, through my LinkedIn, through my newsletter, all of those avenues. And when people start responding, I go, right, this is actually getting people's attention. Let's go and do that. For example, with the interactive quizzes, 2 weeks ago, I created a "Are you ready to scale your SaaS business?" quiz. And I put it out there. People have started responding. I'm going to start running advertising against that, because that people are starting to go, yes, I am ready to start running. What's stopping me? Or what's the next step? Or what are the last bits that I need to do? What are the areas I need to plug? And that's what the report does. So you go through the interactive quiz. It answers, you give it all the answers, or you answer all the questions, and then it says, okay, well, this is the next thing you need to focus on. So, and Manuel, content. You've got to be really visible. You're actually, everybody here is great people. I know a lot of you. I really need you to get that content out there. And the best place for content, this is for everybody, is your sent items, the questions that you've answered for clients. Because of those questions you've answered for clients, if one client has a question, other people have the same question. Think about your own life. A lot of you receive my emails every single day. I'm not sort of banging on about this, but this is the really useful stuff. This is the meat where you can actually get some real value and for free. Is the recent email I sent out about my trip to Boston. I'm not showing that Boston's 4 hours up the road, so it's not a big deal. The point I'm making about telling you about that is, how did I make decisions on where to stay, where to eat, what to do? Well, we found it online, first of all. So we got visible. Those people may be running ads, but that didn't make us buy from them. We then looked at reviews. We looked at their star rating on Google. We looked at all of these different reputation scores. That's when we made those decisions to buy. Not because we saw an advert. We didn't go there. And so we want to look at those things. And so this is what you should be thinking as well. How can you put that content out there? How can you get noticed? And I'm not looking at anybody in particular, because I don't know everybody's situation. One thing I've said to a few people is, if you've got no money, you should have no shame. And what I mean by that is direct message people, DM people. If you want to know how to write a direct message to somebody and ask them to engage with you, put DM in the comment section. I'll make sure I answer that for you. Not today, but it has to be specific to your business. But it's so important to get noticed and get out there, because I know there's some amazing people in the room here. I want to make sure you succeed. So have a look at all these things. So look, retargeting campaigns and paid ads, of course, and video content. Video obviously rules the world at the moment. There's lots of businesses out there who are doing amazingly. I've got a friend of mine who's got a running account, just up 15, 20-second little sort of captions, the video of him running past with a bit of a filter overlay. He's grown that to count to 50,000 people in the last 2 months, 50,000 followers in the last 2 months. So you're just doing running content, telling how to do stretching and how to recover from a long run, those types of things. So your niche is out there, your market is out there. They're waiting for you to serve them with some useful content. The stuff, the mountain of value that you're sitting on at the moment from your years and years of experience of doing this, it's there, ready to go. You're just going to be able to pull that out of yourself. And I use my own personal life as a lever to pull that out of myself. But you could use anything. Maybe don't like that LinkedIn guy from a couple of years ago that said, I proposed to my wife, and this is what it taught me about B2B sales. So maybe not that, but try to take some type of secondary or tertiary view of your life and of your world and how you help your customers, and then relate that back into content, because everything is content, because somebody's going through the same thing you are and have slowly coming to the same realization that you have, and to find a way to actually catch that wave and help them win with your product. Okay, and thank you for joining me on that little rant there. So, for example, here are some offers. So, the Australian Builders Guide to Profitable Growth, because obviously builders want profitable growth. Supporter Hub, 10 fundraising tactics of high growth charities. Well, that's a good thing to download. And this customer cliffside, we just created this for them, where they do a cybersecurity audit, and we've built these questions so people can actually do some self-assessment. Self-assessment's amazing. We want you to go ahead and find a way to get value out of businesses without having to engage or pay money yet. So this is called what Daniel Priestley calls a product for prospects. You can do the same thing with me. You can go on a scorecard.techtorque.com/SaaS. I'll write that. If anybody wants that assessment, just ask me. Just write assessment in there, and I'll happily send it to you. And this allows you to go through and figure out exactly where your gaps are and what the next step is. Same with these guys here. These guys do banking. These guys do cybersecurity for banking, huge organizations. People still need to figure out some self-assessment stuff. This is how you create this offer. You engage with the customer, you give them some value, then they start trusting you. Once again, that trust builds from adding value. Okay, some results. So some nice things people have said to me, but in particular, Sean here from NexusSoft, by implementing my recommendations, we stopped giving away our expertise for free and started monetizing our sales process, which has been instrumental in driving nearly $2 million in new business in the last 3 months. And so, and this, the bottom one here is advertising. So we do both. The first one was no paid advertising. It was just direct outreach and content. The bottom one is direct advertising. This is just giving you an example. And so these guys need to update this now. So August to October last year, 32 leads for $900 and 18 leads for $400. And after working with us, 102 leads for the same money, or actually less money, and 80 leads for slightly more money. So they've massively increased the number of leads they've got for basically the same spend. And that's having skilled practitioners execute on things. So you can spend money, but if you can spend money wisely, it's going to work out much, much better for you. So Terry's saying, funny proposal, I did one of those after you had a real experience in the emergency department. Great. Well, you know what? And you probably got some attention, and people will resonate with that. You're trying, you're putting stuff out there, Terry. So just go for it. If you're trying to get attention, as we said earlier in the conversation, the best thing you can do is get attention. And of course, assessment. Okay, we're launching our SaaS next week. Fantastic, Terry. I'll message you directly after this. So in review, everybody, I just want to give you a review time. So your 4 key areas: your target market, know who you want to go after, go an inch wide and a mile deep, clearly identify them, not just demographics, but psychographics. As we move around the circle, your circle of influence, you need to get known by more people. And then, obscurity is your enemy, or as I said earlier, if the only reason you don't have enough sales is not enough people know about you. The third part is your relationship. How do you build better and longer lasting relationships with your customers? Typically is by giving your IP away. IP is your knowledge, your process, your thinking, how you got here. Not necessarily your software, but how you got here and why you exist, your reason for existence. They're powerful sales conversations. And your offer. Get people to engage with you in some way. There's many ways to ask people to buy from you. I've got books about that sort of stuff. There's whole books on how to make an offer, but essentially you need to get somebody you need to offer value higher than what it's going to cost them. More value than what it costs. And if it's just an email address, give them away something useful, engage. Those online assessments are really, really great, super valuable to use, simply because you're giving away lots and lots of ideas before the customer's even paid you. And that's a really great way to go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time today. I really appreciate you and really appreciate your attention. If you want to discover your path of least resistance, I'm offering a 45-minute workshop. We're going to go through your sales and marketing. We're going to look at it. We're going to take a really detailed view of exactly how you're doing your sales and marketing, what opportunities there are for growth, what opportunities there are for growth for content, how to bring it all together, how to direct message with people, how to communicate with those people. I've got some templates and structures and processes. I'd be more than happy to share that with you. Extended Q&A, obviously examples of successful campaigns, and I've got dozens and dozens of them. You tell me your industry, and I'm sure I've got an example of how we've helped that client. Obviously, we'll take out the names and all that type of stuff, but the structure and the ideas will still be there. So if you do want that, please go ahead and put in Focus Finder in the comments section, and my team will go ahead and grab those and book those in. If you don't want to put that into the session, into the comment section, just send me an email at the end of this webinar. Thank you so much for taking your time today. There is a bonus for those people who have requested and I won't show you the next slide, but there is a bonus for people who have requested the slides. It's my sales and marketing blueprint. It's a 9-step process of how all on one page. It's a really busy slide. I won't go into it. So if you do ask for the slides, you'll be getting that as a bonus as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. If there's no more questions, you guys are pretty, looks like you're pretty happy with everything, how it's gone today. I'll leave you alone. Thank you so much for taking the time today. Really appreciate your attendance. So there's a couple of things here. Is if you want the assessment, you can put assessment in the comments, or you can send me an email. You can send me an email about getting that Focus Finder workshop. More than happy to work through your current sales and marketing process, give you some advice, and of course also the slides. Thanks, Chris. I'll make sure that gets to you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Or it's evening for me. Have a great day for you. Bye for now.